Hi TC, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Oh yeah, we're really excited to have you here. I've been telling Ryan about your game since I saw it on the Renegade Winter. I don't know, the Winter Show,
I don't know
whatever it
if we're
was
doing.
called.
Do we do video? Do you do video?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. This
Okay,
will be
so
on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. So I just want to. It's like maybe I'm. We'll just reverse it or something.
Yeah, my
But
father's
I've got
work.
the little cover of the box there with me with my father's work that I'm showing.
Yeah. Well, and that night you dressed up and did a whole thing too. That was fun.
Oh yeah, with Chris's podcast.
Yeah.
Or at least interview for Renegade Con. Yeah,
Right.
that was interesting. And plus hey, it's like we'll have some videos coming up that are like secret and promotional
Right.
that
Oh,
have me as that character TC Petty the second.
okay. I, I did see the little teaser with the smoke and the I don't know what do you call that thing that goes on a desk with
A
your
little
nameplate?
nameplate, I
Nameplate?
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the teaser. And they'll be rolling those out over the next few days, like just as a teaser kind of thing. And I saw some of the other people's videos that are contributing, and some of them are really good. So
Oh.
my crappy video is gonna be like eclipsed.
All right.
But I
Well,
did I did buy a lot of dry ice, so you're in for at least some creepy mad science.
Yeah, I love dry ice. Give me the elevator pitch on my father's work for our listeners who may not be familiar.
Yeah,
Or the long elevator pitch. Maybe the elevator broke down.
yeah. We'll start small, go big. The elevator pitch is it's a mad scientist game that sort of is like Young Frankenstein, the game. So it takes the classic tropes of mad science, puts them all into one game. You play over the course of three different generations and pass down your knowledge from generation to generation. And you do it all in one sitting. So it's like one game.
mhm.
But the cool part about it is the fact that not only do you have a board, which is a book. So as you play, you make changes into the village that you're living by in your creepy estates. The decisions that you make change which pages you go to, but it also has an electronic companion app that acts as a storybook. And the choices that you make there split the story so that each generation there's like a clear like branching path, and
Mhm.
it never branches back. So when you start off, you're starting at the first generation, and then by the third generation you could be someplace completely different than whenever you played it the other time. And that means different pages in the book, things will be taken out of a specific scenario box. And yeah, but from a general gameplay standpoint, I mean, it's a worker placement game that you place to get resources to do your mad experiments, and so it has all the things that you all the check boxes, right? It is you do the experiments, you gain knowledge, you pass that knowledge down to the next generation by writing feverishly. You have a little track that's an insanity track that is the mechanic is that as you go more insane, you gain these compulsion cards that are good. And so as you complete those things, you gain points. But as you go further down, it gets worse and worse down this track. And then you've got your angry mobs that if you're too creepy, they will eventually cross your path and you will just get overtaken by that. And you've got all that stuff going on. So yeah, but one sitting, it's like a self-contained legacy game. It's got nice classic Euro roots, and yet it's extremely thematic to a
Yeah.
fault.
I like that. I love theme. Dip me in theme.
Exactly. Oh, it's got, and the final thing will have miniatures with different bases that you click them into.
Mhm.
And
Ooh.
I'm not allowed to really say this, but they match the same size as like D&D miniatures, so you could just put your own miniatures in there if you really
Ooh,
wanted to.
ooh.
I also love miniatures. I
But
mean,
that's unofficial.
Right.
But the miniatures are official. You'll have a whole set of miniatures, and you can mix and match who you want to be your spouse, who you want to be yourself, who you want to be your caretakers, and all that stuff. So
yes,
it'll be
immerse
cool.
me. I mean, I love miniatures. I also could play games without miniatures. You know, I don't want to sound like I just say things, because in the past I'm like, games don't need miniatures. But if they're too expensive, then Christopher buys it and I play his copy.
I don't generally buy super expensive miniature games though.
Well, I'm just saying,
okay.
like some certain games that appear, you know, that are very, you know, you get it in Kickstarter and it's 16 boxes.
I will say, I never got a chance to play it with miniatures. Whenever I was playtesting, it was always just the wooden pieces, right? Because and then those bases, like the wooden pieces, like you use the hexagon base for the wooden piece, and that just became the hexagon base for the miniature. So,
I mean, I say that Blood Rage would be a great game without the miniatures.
Oh yeah,
but I've never really played it without the miniatures, and would I have fallen in love with it as hard if it didn't have, you know?
So. I didn't realize the miniature component. Like that's not going to turn me off or on it, but like, you know, some people they live and die by games with miniatures. Will it necessarily have miniatures in it then?
Yeah. Those right off the bat. You know, we're not building up to the miniatures. They'll definitely have it. And I guess it's, you know, I think even in the planning stages, you know, because I did this for a while, but even in the planning stages, I think we were just always like, this is a more of a Kickstarter game. It's going to have more things to it, and it's built to be like that. And even if it gets to retail and it does these things, which is not guaranteed, even with Renegade behind it, it'll still have those shiny baubles. And I think that helps here, because the base is strong, and I'm not trying to like cheat you into getting the miniature game just because it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like amazing miniatures that you can get from some other campaign. These are like good, and they're Mad Scientist Victorian era, which I don't see. So that's at least, hey, I guess if you really like miniatures, you could get 24 cool miniatures with this, or what is it? No, 28 cool miniatures with this, and then you'd be fine.
I mean, it's a genre I like. I mean, you said if you're too creepy, the villagers will come after you. I don't refer to those. There's just haters, man. They're
all haters.
You know?
So, well, I mean, it's still definitely like my most anticipated game of the year. I just, what I'm most worried about now is how much more painting I'm going to have to do.
Hey,
dip and wash.
That's the thing too. I mean, right now I don't think they have the ink wash on those. I only have the ones that I have, which are just not ink washed yet.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a thing, but at the same time, you don't even need. I don't mess with it. I'll have my final copy. It'll be all decked out, and I just will never paint the miniatures. It'll be great.
I have drawers upon drawers of unpainted minis.
So we're going to switch gears real quick. I totally want to come back to my father's work and talk about more, because it's coming out on, you said the 27th, a week from when we're recording this. I think this is the 20th today. Yeah.
It is April 20th.
So April 27th, 1 week away. Is when it's going up onto Kickstarter.
Cool. So we will come back to it. But my next question is really important. I sent this to Ryan as part of the homework. You designed a game that was based in Ohio. We're in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. I did see that one.
Yep.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So it's all about becoming the governor of Ohio, but you're also a loaf of bread.
Yes. Yeah. I just wanted you to say that out loud. So, okay.
Yeah, it was Roll's election.
Yeah.
And I only made it for a contest because I hate puns so badly. And so I just leaned hard into it. So it's like bread, and in the game, whenever you're buying things with money, it's dough. And then the people have needs, and it's spelled like needs, and makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I did attack it again though. I love the idea of the surrealism of like getting sick of politics, so let's elect a loaf of bread. But but at the same time, I thought that might not fly. So, you know, I have gone back and revisited a little bit. But yeah, man, that's a cool deep cut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was like a small card game. Like it's like 32 cards, something like that. Like it's very tiny. And
Yeah.
but it plays in like 90 minutes, which is awesome.
It's right.
I need to see those notes. That's like my dream game. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, this is a micro game. It takes 2.5 hours to play. It fits in an Altoids tin.
Yeah,
Super
exactly.
engaging.
And that was the goal originally, was I've got 5 dice, I've got a bunch of cubes and some cards, and yeah, just fit it all in. But it's fun to design. I don't know. People were like, "Why don't you make it bigger? It'd be easier if it was bigger." So I think I'll just make it a little bit bigger. But it's a cool design challenge to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just tell
The
people
governor's a loaf of bread.
Fits in a bread box, like it's big enough.
Yeah, bread box. Perfect. I want one game that I put out that I just absolutely hate. Like,
this game's great.
One.
I mean, I despise it, but like
it's really fun to play. I hate it, but man, it's so good.
So you've worked as a card dealer too, right?
Yeah.
Before, like dealing cards, or was I misunderstanding that part?
No, I was a casino dealer for like 4 years.
Okay.
But does it count? It's rural Pennsylvania.
Oh,
so
okay.
Does rural Pennsylvania casino dealing count? I guess it does. I was a poker dealer. I did blackjack and all the carnival games and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't really get into craps or roulette, but I don't know why I couldn't do roulette, other than the fact that you have those like huge stacks of money that you have to count, but it's not like you're doing math or anything.
Right.
Technically you are, but you're always doing it's just cutting things up into different like fractions. I don't know. But yeah, I did that for a few years, and the best thing I think I can say about that is that I still love poker.
Okay.
I like bluffing. I like watching people play, and I really had fun just talking for 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, I can feel it now. Like when I talk for an hour now, it's like my voice is drying out of it and everything, it's gone. But like that job, I talked for like 8 hours straight during a shift. So it's like I could talk forever. Literally, my voice would just go on forever. It was great. But yeah, not anymore.
Like demoing at cons. Just a good way to not be able to talk for a week.
Yeah, going to cons and like having to talk to people there too was super easy too, because I'd stand up all day.
Yeah,
it's not like you could sit down. So yeah, pretty cool.
So that's what I was going to ask you is how do you feel like work experience like that and some of your early game design has informed where you are starting to go with it within your game design now? Because you did mention tonight, and you mentioned before that this has been a years-long work for you, my father's work. How does that all fold into what you are doing with game design now?
Well, I'm always so the big thing. The only thing that you can trace, like, because you would go from this to like other games that I've done, and it's kind of like why, but the only thing that kind of carries through from each one, which I talk about a lot, is like positive player interaction as opposed to just negative all the time. So there are times where it may be outside of your control where the direction of the game is going because other people want it to go that way. So if the through line to like my father's work or like a Viva Job of the coffee game, which was the original thing, was that you would be on a team and your team would say, we both want to do this thing. Well, if you don't want to do that, it sucks because you chose to be on that team and now the team doesn't want to do the thing. So you should have probably already communicated that ahead of time. They didn't want to do that, and this is why. And that sort of through line to having to navigate social ramifications of a situation on top of just the game, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just like a vote, like which way do we want to go, this way or that way? If you vote against the grain, like, it's kind of interesting how that affects gameplay. And I think people don't do that often. I don't know why. I really don't. It's like, because it's a cool game design thing. And I think everybody kind of likes voting in games. So it's weird that people are just more like, oh, I got to throw a bomb at your castle. Haha. It exploded. As opposed to being like, hey, like, why don't we screw over that guy by voting this way? But I'll just wink at you. I'm not going to say this out loud. I'm just going to wink because you know what I know. That person doesn't know. Let's do that and get them to do the opposite so that it's bad for them. Stuff like that. I like that stuff on top of pushing a huge amount of cubes around and doing all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah. I was reading about what you had said about positive player interaction, and that's something I was going to come to later on anyways. So related to that, what is like a really good experience of that for you, not just in the abstract, but like, how would you explain that to somebody who's like, but I love playing Euros and doing my own thing and ignoring everybody else, just going for the win, or even somebody who likes playing, Blood Rage or something else, maybe to the detriment of what's going on socially at the table. How would you bring that in?
Yeah.
How would you sell that concept to somebody of like, let's have better positive player interactions at the table from your personal experience?
The best way to sell it is to give them trust, right? I think when the original games that I was doing did that, people didn't know who I was, and they hadn't played games like that before. And since then, there's been a few more things that have come out. And once you like have that level of trust, as in like, oh yeah, we can do this, I think most people are like, oh yeah, I used to hate that, but that's because everyone was doing it wrong. They sucked at doing it. Like, and so if you're like, let's play a Euro game, and then every now and then everybody like just does a game of Go Fish. No one wants to do that. It's like that's like just getting in the way of the game. But if you can play a Euro game every now and then, look up, laugh at each other, and then look back down, that's what I'm going for. I'm not looking for like I'm going to stab you in the back and then hold the knife as I twist it into someone else. I'm just looking for like those moments of like, oh wow, yeah, oh no, this is integrated into that. I don't have to worry about that. Like as long as I am getting to do some of my cool stuff alone, I have my space, I know where it is. If something affects that, I know kind of the rules. I know the rules around it, and I know that I can trust that I'm not going to just walk into the next round, my whole game's erased, and I can't do anything. Yeah. I'll still be able to plan. I'll still be able to get around that. I think that's the stuff. But that's trust, and I don't know if I've built that up just yet, and I don't know if there's enough games that do it just yet. So somebody's gonna have to get on board here soon. We got to build this up.
What have you been playing recently that really gave you a good gaming experience, though? Anything?
It sucks. The last year sucks.
Okay. Yeah.
I think for most everybody. Yeah. I went into it burnt out. I don't know how you guys were, but I went into it already burnt out. So
okay.
It just made things like, okay, cool, board games. This is going to be great. Like because you can play 2-player. I have a housemate and I can play 2-player, but like maybe I'll just play some video games. I don't know. But but the games that have kind of inspired me lately is weird. Like it hasn't. I think most of the things it hasn't dealt with board games. It's not like it's more just weird social interactions that happen because I'm not able to do this stuff. I recently got like a Oculus Quest 2.
Okay.
And I got into like VR and VR chat. And there's like insanely positive people there. And I'm not used to insanely positive behavior, but I just love it. Hey, you know what? Cool. You can compliment somebody and then leave.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And then just last year, most of it has been on just the video game side and getting used to like Tabletop Simulator and all that other stuff, because I have play tested so many games through Screen Top and Tabletop Simulator and all these games, and I think I've played hundreds of play tests, but I haven't actually played a game online. I did one. I played like Aquatica, I think.
Okay.
Which, hey, it's a new release, so I can say I'm an edge, bleeding edge gamer. Yeah, I'm on the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
So, but how is it for you guys? I mean, you're probably in the same boat. I mean, unless.
Well, we both have kids.
I was burnt out beforehand, and then I went straight into existential crisis.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
If we're gonna be honest about it.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for being willing to share with us.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure everybody was like, you just cry yourself to sleep, wake up the next day, and get through it. It's good.
Yep.
It feels good. It's a cleansing process.
Yeah, we played some tabletop sim. I did like miniature painting with my daughter early on, and then the winter hit, and winter was a lot harder. So like the reality of the situation is like I think about playing games a lot. I got in good with my D&D group, and then we started playing board games online with Christopher, but then that kind of was hot for a minute, and then that fell off, and then it's just life.
No, it happened. It happened. Are you at least? I guess the thing is, because I am getting to the point where I was saying to myself, if I get to the end of May and I'm not fully inoculated and all this stuff, like whatever, I'm gonna lose my mind. So, and if I don't get to play like things with people and hang out with people, are you at that point where you would really like to just be in person with other people doing these things? Or...
No.
Nope.
I mean, I do.
I was wondering. I was curious.
Yeah. No. Oh, it's not the pandemic. It's not the pandemic that's stopping me. I just don't want to be around people anymore. Like, I like being around Christopher, but like, there's this thought of like going. Like, I had to run some errands before I came over here. We're in person. We were gonna bubble together early on, and now we're getting the shots and stuff. But we're both. He's pretty much the only person I see.
Yeah.
I'm a couple weeks past my shots. And all that.
Oh, I'm getting into shot 2. So, but we were going to bubble family together and then decided against it. That's a big share.
That came up in a previous episode.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah,
but like, I'm excited. I like playing Blood Bowl, but then like, I don't want to go to the store. I don't want to drive there. I don't. It's I don't have to. I had to bring a change of shirts to go to Christopher's house to wear it because last week I spilled butter on my shirt and I forgot. And then I sat the whole time like this while we were filming so nobody would see the giant butter stain. And I could, if at home, I just changed my shirt. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's whole wrap.
Hey, that is too close to home for I think most people, so that's fine.
I mean, my guess is there's going to be like an initial excitement for those of us who have decided to not do group gaming. There's going to be a real big thing, but then I don't know if there will ever be the same normal as there was before. And this is just my guess, but I think that we might seek out people that I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? That's the question.
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
In my perfect wisdom, I think that I think there's certain extroverted people that are questioning whether or not it's worth it. But I think they'll lapse into it. Everything will go good for those. And then board games are weird because we have this huge influx of people that have never played board games before. Yeah. So there's constantly this cycle of people that are just getting old enough to like want to sit down and play a game. So I don't think it's going away. I just think for some of us older hat people who've been around, it's going to be another year before we're really comfortable doing this and dealing with like the whole wait for someone else to take a turn kind of thing. Because you're just going to get testy. And I know it already. I can feel it. I'm just going to get testy and yell at somebody the second they just take forever on their turn because it's been so long and I didn't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with those social interactions. But all I can say is that I've been surrounded, like I was saying, with so much recent positivity, like from a genuine human being standpoint, that it gives me hope, at least from that side, that like there's always you don't necessarily have to go and see the friends that you always saw. You could always find somebody new and cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's these cool people that just exist, and man, that is good.
Yeah.
I like that outlook. I need to try to follow that. I don't want to.
But no. But going, you were talking about going to the game store. I don't know if I want to even really do that.
Yeah.
I just want to like, conventions are great because you could just be like, yeah, cool. That's what you're talking about. I'm going this way.
I am excited for conventions because you can leave them.
Yeah.
You know, but I just don't want to be around people that much because I just lost a lot of faith in people.
We won't get too dark there.
But yeah, no.
So
but conventions.
The mob.
Dope.
Tell us more about the mob in my father's work.
Wait, hold on. I wanted to ask.
Tell us more about negative people.
So your father started this project. What did he do before he designed the first iteration of my father's work?
Well, he was a rich aristocrat, and then he lost it all. No, I mean, you know, that's the farce of it all. And I am not required as a human being to be an actor all the time. So I can just be like, yeah, it's made up, but it's fun. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where like, my dad personally, it's weird. Like they never really played games when I was growing up, other than, I guess the highest level I've ever played was Rummikub. I don't know if you remember that game.
I have the box. I've never played it.
It won Spiel des Jahres, right? Did you know that? Yeah. Like it's weird. So it won, and it's weird that it did because it's okay. You know, like now I look back at it, it's okay. But but like any of these things, like my dad is surprisingly good at abstract games, like 2-player abstract games. He beats me every time. And it makes no sense because if we play any other type of game, he is just confused. He has no way of knowing. But when we break out something that's just like, I don't know if you've heard the Gipf series with like Yinsh and Dvonn and all these like just 2-player completely abstract games. Mm-hmm. He just knows exactly what to do intuitively. And it's weird. But aside from that, like my family just, you know, it's like they would just roll with it. I grew up with a video game controller in my hand and that's it. I don't know how it's been for everybody. Like, did you grow up playing these like anything outside of like the most classic of classic games? Were you introduced to anything weird?
I mean, I don't know what you consider weird. We probably the weirdest thing that we used to play when I was a kid was Marble Coliseum, I think is what it was called.
Is it the one that you set it up? Did you set like with the plastic pieces that you set up and did a thing?
Yeah.
Is this like Mousetrap but smarter?
No, like you had this Coliseum with marbles, and you wanted to try to make your opponent's marbles fall down into the middle and out of the Coliseum. So we would play like that and Go and Othello and stuff like that. Of course, Monopoly and Risk and all those, but Risk was always my cousins and I fighting. So
my stepdad taught me Risk when I was 12 with my older brother. He's kind of a turd, and he didn't really teach us how to play, and then he just dominated us. And I've hated Risk ever since.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Well, what brought you? I mean, that just sounds terrible.
No.
What brought you into modern gaming then instead? Because like I know when I first played Carcassonne and Catan like 20 years ago, and those just felt very different, right? And so I like to ask people that question about what brought them in. What brought you into modern gaming?
Same boring old story. Yeah. So I did the Catan thing, and at the time it went from, we played Catan like 150 times as you do,
Mhm.
like right in a row from that one Christmas that it was bought, and it looked
Yep.
like because I think the thing that has made me love games, just like man, it was the same thing when I would get together with friends and we'd do like an Oscar kind of party thing. You know,
Mhm.
you would find like the weird movies and you'd download them through like what's the Roku, and we just like
Yeah.
watch them one after the next. And you would read the description for it and you'd be like, a boy slowly grows up in a rural town, then has to deal with like, I don't know, his parents have mental deficiencies and blah, 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 blah. He's a jazz drummer, something like that. And it would be, and you'd be like, this is the dumbest. And then you watch the movie for like 5 minutes and you're just in. Like, I was watching Whiplash, like going like, this is my favorite movie ever. and the description is like, jazz drummer learns how to do stuff with a bad teacher, you know, cool.
Oh, I've seen the short of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, you should see the whole movie. Like it is, again, it's like, it makes me uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable in a good way, right? Like it's just, I'm a huge fan of J.K. Simmons, but that's definitely his best role, I would say. And he just nails it so well. And, but that, going back to board games, same thing. Catan's cover at the time was the most like 5th grade Thanksgiving textbook ever. Like, it just looked like Native Americans on, like someone drew it, like some kid drew it. And I don't know. It was the worst looking thing ever to me. And I was like, why would anyone sell this like this? And
You're allowed to say that now because the kid that drew it's all grown up. They can take it.
Yeah, the 2-year-old that drew that cover is now older. I would, yeah. So I just looked at that and it was like, it's brown, it's terrible looking. It looks like someone put it together on a weekend. And I realized that Mayfair, that's pretty much what they do. They just put things together on a weekend with their friends and then sell it. And there was no other options, so people had to buy it. But the Catan, just like killing people. No, but they're dinosaurs. They're gone. I already predicted like 10 years ago they're gone. But Mayfair's gone. Who am I getting mad at this point? Mayfair's gone. They're dead. Anyway, so but that looks so bad, and the game was so good that I think that really had my expectation was so blown away that started my love of those types of Euro games. When all of a sudden the mechanics just came together and just made this, oh man, once I realized what the game was, it just overwhelmed me. And that feeling, it's rare. It's rare to get that feeling. So I've been chasing the dragon ever since.
Did you have like a stage 2 experience? A lot of people, like you say, a lot of people have had that first experience with those early modern games, and then they wind down a little bit, and then they hit a second stage where that kind of brings it back in. Did you have that at some point?
Maybe I'm still waiting for it. I think
okay.
I think it just kind of kept going, right? Because I think my second stage was starting to design games.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it was, because I really kind of didn't start designing games till like 5 years into playing them, something like that. So like before 2010, something like that. And and I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe that did it. I started appreciating him for different reasons.
Okay.
But one of the things that I really got into that kind of got me back into things were that first wave of like the little micro games, like with Love Letter and Coup.
Yeah.
That like, I'm like, oh man, they've unearthed a new thing that video games can't do. This is great. And then recently I'm a big fan of the roll and write games. But they're not new to me. They're old school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played that game Wurfel dice, Wurfel.
No.
Whatever. It's an old Uwe Rosenberg game they couldn't print because one of the sides of the dice had a Chinese caricature on it. It was like, here's a China bean, like green beans, yellow. Like, why would you make the yellow bean a China bean? Anyway, he did that, and that game can't be reprinted in America because of it, right? And that game did that thing way before anybody else did it. And I was like, oh, this is just like that game that I loved. but now it's everybody's doing it. Oh, this is great. So I'll play a roll and write anytime.
Cool.
Anytime.
What have you played most recently with the roll rights? Because that's something you don't need other people for.
Yeah, no, I backed the Matt and Ben did Three Sisters.
Yeah,
the guys that did Fleet Dice.
Yeah. Is Three Sisters about the gardening technique?
So grab that underneath Metro right there.
Get ready for this. It's about an indigenous gardening technique.
I've planted a Three Sisters garden. They're great. They're great.
Doesn't that sound exciting?
Until somebody comes over and takes all of your corn that's made for like grinding, and they harvest it all for your brother-in-law's barbecue, and then you show up and they're like, hey, we got all that corn out of the yard, so we cooked it. And you're like, oh, that's interesting because you can't eat that corn that way.
That's cool that you did that.
Well, that was
but Fleet Dice was the answer, right? Like Fleet Dice was the one that I was really into.
So where did it go? Oh,
what do you want from me? Fleet. Oh, Fleet. Oh, you didn't say.
I'm excited. I'm excited to show Ryan this. I've been waiting on my copy forever. I've played this a ton, but I never had my own copy because I played with other people, and then this last year happened, and then I needed to get games that the other people I don't see anymore had. So I'm excited to show that to Ryan. But Three Sisters.
Same designers.
Yep. And Fleet Dice is my favorite of the Fleet, and I really liked Fleet. But again, boats, super exciting. Get ready. But that's the thing. Like, it just excites my brain when I play it. Boom, I'm in. 2 seconds in, I'm ready.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's super. It's a really complex roll and write. And it's got everything you'd ever need in a rolling right. So
yeah.
See, I think when I got like back into games, because I started off differently. I started off with like Magic and then White Wolf LARPs at like a young age.
Yeah.
I was like LARPing at 13 or 14.
That makes sense.
So then when I got into board games, I definitely picked up like stuff with like really jazzy covers that was just awful to play. So now when I see like a Mayfair game box, I'm like,
oh, I love seeing
that's probably really good.
So
yeah, exactly.
I don't have your game, but there's an advertisement for it. Because again,
I saw it on the side. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but again, like I've been having to build up my library because the people I used to play games with. Anyways, I just so this is the randomness, the flow of consciousness type of thing that we do. So sorry,
just let it stick, throw it up.
Yeah.
So you backed Three Sisters. Have you?
You didn't email me and tell me about it. I would have backed it too.
Had I known, had I only known.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I'm saving all my money for next week. My father's work's coming out on Kickstarter. You should check it out.
Have you played this yet?
Say all your money. Is that the reprint but changed art of the one game, or is that new? That brand new?
Well, I just got my retail copy of it, so.
Okay, so I just didn't know if it was because I know they did like what's the. I mean, I work for the company. I should know.
Right, that's why I thought.
But they did. But I haven't played that one yet. Okay. I have not played that. I just didn't know if that was the one that's like if that's brand new or if it was part of the they reprinted what was it? Not Architects of the West Kingdom, something Raiders of the North Sea, I think, right? Raiders of the North Sea. They reprinted it with new art, and I didn't know if that was the reprint with new art or if that's. Oh, okay, yeah. So not that. Okay, so that's in the same vein, same world.
So this one is Raiders of the North Sea, but Scythians, and some different cards and some different couple tweaked mechanics. I do like it better. I love Raiders of the North Sea, but I like that one better.
Okay.
This though crack that open.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah. I like how Garpel and Renegade keep pushing the limits of what these little boxes can do.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, anybody watching is going to be like, no, this is bad. Don't do that.
It's like a dice tower thing right now. Just dump it on the table, Tom.
It's just...
we just like to hang out when we do this show. So,
oh my God.
I mean, I like the idea of like a radio unboxing. I mean, radio unboxing sounds like the best. Ooh, ow, what? That's
there
what
are
that
two
is?
sheets. There are two. So this is Hadrian's Wall for those who are listening and don't know what in the world is going on later on, because we get different groups of people. We actually have people in like Asia and stuff that have listened to the show.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. I don't know who you are. I have no idea why you listen, but thank you.
Christopher's holding about 4 pounds of paper in his hands.
I am holding the paper that comes in Hadrian's Wall, and it is books worth of a roll and write. It's hard to see because my studio lights are, but yeah. So you need to get like your free I work for the company copy of this.
Yeah, I didn't know that was what it was. If I would have known, yeah, they'd be obligated.
Yeah,
they keep holding out on you. They don't tell me about Three Sisters. They don't tell you know.
Yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to be plugging? I don't know. At this point, I was like, you already did the plugging for me, so good job.
I like a lot of Renegade games. Then I'll put it this way. Ryan and I have talked about the narrative approach to games.
Yeah.
And hearing you talk, and then seeing what you've been doing for them since then has only brought my excitement up for my father's work. So maybe, I don't know, if you want to dash that hope now, you can. But how do you...
I'm ready.
Or you can build it up more in anticipation for next week. How do you see your game doing something different narratively? Because what really intrigued me was the 3 generations, and like having to, because you're throwing away part of your work each time, right, in the journal.
Yeah. I mean, not in the journal itself. It's just that like literally everything goes.
Right.
Like, if you don't have it pinned down, like all your money goes, all your resources go, everything, and you start the next generation fresh. So the only things you keep is what you build and what you write down. And that's kind of, I mean, that's one thing to get used to in this game that some people are like weirded out the first time they get it, right? Because wait, why? Where's all my stuff? But it's kind of that idea of like, use it or lose it. Try to use it as efficiently as possible. Don't be sending people out to just grab a bunch of things, hold it, and then use it next turn. Like, you've got to get what you need, use what you use, and that plays into how the story works. Because, hey, if all of a sudden you get into, like, you've been like, oh, sweet, I'm just going to do this and this, I'll do this experiment, and you're just kind of not really paying attention, an event happens, and now all of a sudden no gears are available in the game. The resource, one of the resources that is on all the cards, is no longer there.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I should have, I mean, I knew that was probably going to happen, but maybe I should have done something about that, and when you hit the some areas of permanence or change in the game that come from the story, whether it's hinting at you something could happen or just going off in a wildly different direction, just the idea that like you kind of get the hints of what you should do is kind of interesting, right? And so as far as being like, so there's that, but as far as being different from like a narrative thing from like other games, like I am literally I'm not trying to have you turn to a new page in a book to read a paragraph after interviewing someone to get more information to try to solve a crime or something like that, right? I'm literally only interested in you telling the group's story of like what you guys do to this town that is horrible. And as time goes on and you start seeing the town going off in wildly different directions, whether it's like supernatural or pseudoscience of the time, I think the thing that's different about this one is that because I'm telling a story, but the mechanics are like first in that mode, is that everything that happens affects the game. So instead of it feeling like, oh, I'm just finding this new place. Okay, cool. I've got this new place that's like there. It's like, no, sometimes things are gone. Sometimes things change. They don't do the same things they did before. Sometimes the buildings that you knew before, there's like new things to explore, new mechanics. And that freshness of mechanics and theme, I've seen it before, but I haven't seen it done this way. And it's a lot of work. And that's why I probably don't see a lot of people doing it.
Yeah. No, it still sounds very, very exciting.
I don't know if any of that makes sense. It sort of felt like rambling, but like at the same time,
I'm getting more geeked for it. I won't match Christopher's geekness because he was straight hyped when you guys. I remember that he was like, "Dude, you got to check out this game," and I was like, "Sure."
I think
sure, cool.
I mean, it sounded interesting. I just don't do anything.
No, it's the same thing as it's like I was saying with the anything that you get a description of it, you're just like, okay, well, I mean, that could be cool or it could not be cool. I would have to try it before I know if it's cool or not cool. Like it could blow me away. And for me, I'm like more of an experiential person. This game reflects that. It's more of an experience game that I would say than it is a like full on 100% strategy game. But at the same time, it doesn't sacrifice it. Like you should milk the system. You should play well. You shouldn't just sacrifice that just to screw people over or do something weird. You can do whatever you want. You can not follow the rules and I will punish you, but you keep playing and everyone gets punished. So it's like, just do it. Don't like literally ignore every mechanic that I throw at your face and I will punish you for it. But like everyone will get punished and it'll just be like an interesting, different experience. Go for it. I don't care. I make it so that you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow what I'm telling you to do.
Well, I think that's, at least for me, and of course there's going to be outliers, but I think that's what's going to bring some difference in gaming. And I think this was coming anyways. I think the pandemic just accelerated it, is that there's going to be more people who have been playing games for a few years who are ready for more things like that are an experience within themselves. And I think that legacy games like Pandemic, Season 1, and everything that came after that kind of started to speak to that. But I think that when I hear about this, and then Ryan picked up Oath and things like that, that in general, people who have been into gaming for a little bit now are looking for something that mashes up some of their RPG experience and some of their strategy game experience. And coming out of this pandemic, I think they're going to be ready for games like yours, where they can get together with that group and say, let's do this together and explore both the mechanisms and the social thing that's happening. And that sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's good. I'm hoping that everyone feels that exact same way. For me, I'm just looking like if I have fallen into the problem of like the legacy game that I think a lot of people do, is I've never finished one. And I'd rather have that whole experience. Like if it's going to take me 3.5 hours to play this game, fine, as long as I know I'm getting a similar experience to that, but like in one sitting. If I have to if I'm going to play like, oh, well, it's only 60 minutes, but you got to play it the 5th time. That's when it really gets good. Like it's not really. I'm not going to get to the 5th time. I'm going to play it once, and then we're going to play something else.
Yeah. Well. What this is one more question that we can end on, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. But what are you most looking forward to in gaming in the next 2 to 3 years? What do you hope for tabletop gaming, board gaming, however you refer to it?
Fame and fortune.
For you personally? Okay.
Notoriety, infamy. Yeah, for me personally, and for everyone else, I don't know. I still think the stuff that I like in games isn't fully represented.
Yeah, sure. What do you mean by that?
People are starting to do the story things. You get like Alexander Pfister doing like like I like Great Western Trail a lot, and that's my favorite game now of all time. It beat out Puerto Rico, and now I've forgotten Puerto Rico forever. But just the idea that he's taking like even like the smaller games like the Oh My Goods, and he's adding like this whole like story element to it to like just flesh that out, to add like the narrative part to it. Sure. It's a stretch, I think, but it also is cool because he's trying it. He's doing it. It's not like he's like oh, I think I'll dabble. No, it's like here's 13 chapters. You can play this game like 20 times and get all kinds of cool things unlocked. I think not the legacy part is the thing. I think you can't just be. You got to be interesting in some way, as opposed to just being a cool set of mechanics that's over and done with in 60 minutes. You kind of have to do, if you're 60 minutes and under, you got to do that one cool thing, and that's going to make you stand out. And if you can do that, boom, I'm going to play your game. But if you don't have that, I don't want to play your game anymore. Like, I'm too old. Yeah. Getting old. I'm getting jaded, right? So it's like, if your game doesn't do anything special, cool. It's a solid 60-minute game. I'll recommend it to new players. But not for me. I'm excited about things that would, under 60 minutes, does one really cool thing. Over 60 minutes does like theme and mechanics so well together that I'm like, I can't help but want to play this game, even if it's about like lumber. I don't know if you played that Lignum game, you build chairs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. You put them down the river. You log things. You put the wood down the river. It goes down the river. You put the chairs together. You get the wood. There is something magical about that. And it doesn't have to be like a space game, but there's just something really cool about those 2 things and 3 things and 4 things, the mechanics and the theme going together really nicely. Super cool. And I'll sit down and play that over a ton of other games because, I don't know, just more fun. Just more fun.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, then it's just art.
Okay.
I was going to say way too sad stuff.
No, but hey, that's another thing I want. I want more sad games. There's not enough like horror and sad and like morose games.
That's a good idea. I like that. Something that elicit emotions. That's what I like from games. I want them to elicit emotions nowadays. Like if it's going to be big and heavy, let me get some feels in here. Just cry at the table with all of your friends.
I still haven't got the cry moment down. I mean, I'm going to figure out how to get someone to cry at the table, just from playing.
Yeah, like this is better than therapy.
Not because someone was just like, all right, now the game tells us to cut onions or like punch each other. Like literally because of the emotions.
I mean,
I've been thinking about running a D&D game lately, and I am actually just looking into systems that will really push, not D&D, I should say RPG game. But I would like to explore some things and maybe not people's emotions and make them cry, but I like the exploration. And we've had a lot of conversations on the podcast about games as narrative storytellers, social constructs, ways to do fancy words. You know what I mean? You're picking up what I'm putting down, right?
Yeah. It's very eloquent.
Along the human experience and not just be a time waster. Sure.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, here's a fun one you could try because I've had it pulled on me. And it was a really good way of getting out emotions in RPGs, which end the session on something really frustrating for the players. Like end the session on something like I had so I'll do the story real quick. We had a D&D session where it was kind of like, oh hey, just go out to this cave, go find this artifact, blah blah blah, normal kind of thing, right? Yeah, we'll go do it. We go out there, we get this thing, we come back out, and the person that sent us on the thing's out there, and he's like, all right, thank you, I'll take that artifact now. And there's like an army behind them, and they're like,
yeah, what are you gonna do?
That's ours, and we're gonna go to the next town and tell them that we found it, and it's the thing that everybody was looking for. Cool, thank you so much. Bye. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? And so we just take the thing away that you worked for and then leave, and that's the end of the thing.
Wow.
And it was really frustrating and satisfying in a way that was weird. And so when we played the next session and it ended in a similar way, it was like so emotionally infuriating that you just wanted to play again. Like I literally, this is the only time I've ever like wanted to do prep for another game, because it made me so frustrated, so like emotionally invested in the fact that someone else took, like the second one was someone else took credit for our stuff before we even got back to the town. So they were already celebrating and having a parade to say these people that stopped, like that took away the spirits from the cemetery that we just cleared out, and they had already taken all the credit and stuff, and it was just this recurring thing, and it was just nightmarish but really fun. Just really, it brings out that emotion. It makes you feel. And so I think had I played like a bunch of sessions where finally it works out, like that feeling would be so much more amplified than had we never had that adversity or frustration, right? But you don't really want to do that in the middle of a session, because that can just ruin the whole session. But if you just at the very end, you're like, boom, switch, boom, terrible, then everyone's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, we don't really have time to go on it because I want to respect your time, and we're about done. Again, thank you. But here's an idea for you then. How do you make a game that is sad and frustrating that contains those same type of RPG experiences, but in a board game?
Well, you could try out My Father's Work. The most sad and frustrating game that gets you emotionally invested. No, I do a little I do spin a little of those gears in this game.
Okay.
I do try to make it so that like when there is a surprise or when there is a thing, it is appropriate, but also like tries to get you involved in some way.
Okay.
And if I can pull it off to somebody out there that has a really good moment, I'll be super happy. It doesn't, you're not going to cry, but like at least if you're like, oh, why did we do that? Fear's a good thing. Yeah, fear would be fine. If I can elicit the emotion of fear in someone from the game, that would be great.
I mean, I'd probably cry, but I'm pretty easy to cry. So I think this is my favorite comment from anybody who designs games, when they just are like, I just want somebody to have that moment. When you're telling a story about a game that you played 10, 20 years ago, and you're like, yeah. And then when you design a game, you're like, 10, 20 years from now, I want somebody to be like, oh man, remember when we played My Father's Work, which was on Kickstarter, April 27th, 2021. And we were playing it years later, and the game's dope.
Yep.
It made me cry.
That's a dream. Yeah, the cry afterwards.
The relief. Generations of work.
Oh goodness. Well, again, thank you. Is there anything else you want to say before we end up tonight?
I'll just do the whole. I'll do the whole thing. Like,
sure.
My Twitter is at Puppy Shogun. So hit me up on Twitter. And I'm on Board Game Geek right now doing an Ask Me Anything kind of thing for My Father's Work. So if you are interested and you want to ask a question or two, just hit me up there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hope it goes really well. I'll be following along with the campaign.
I'm going to peep it. I'm going to do the early follow thing,
Just check it out. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I know like Ben Maddox said that it's one of his biggest, most anticipated games for the year too.
Oh, nice.
So you got some people following along.
He's contractually obligated to say that, I think, at this point.
Oh, why is that?
We worked together on a podcast for a while.
Oh, did you? See, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. you have a good night, and we really appreciate it. Thanks, TC.
Yeah. Thanks.